Oh yeah. Let her rip, let her rip. Oh my gosh. What a beast. What is going on today, guys? My name's Alex. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about 5 things I hate about this Ram 2500 Power Wagon. Now, unlike the thumbnail says, I do actually love this truck. I really like it. I don't hate it, but there are 5 things that I don't really like either. So we'll talk about that today. Now, before I get to my first point, let's address the elephant in the room. This Power Wagon can only come with the 6.4 Hemi gas engine. A lot of guys don't like the fact that this can't have a Cummins in it. Obviously, I would love to have a Cummins in this Power Wagon. However, it just wouldn't be the truck it is with a Cummins, and there's a couple reasons for that. Well, really, there's only one. It's the suspension. A Cummins weighs an extra 1,000 pounds on top of the 6.4 Hemi, so it's a very heavy engine in the front end, and the payload on this truck with the suspension is only 1,500 pounds. So if you add an extra 1,000 pounds, it's going to leave you with a payload of less, well, just about 500 pounds of payload. So you just can't sell a truck like that, first of all. Second of all, obviously, like I just mentioned, is the suspension. So in order for this truck to have awesome articulation on the axle, as well as softer suspension for off-road, you need, like I just mentioned, softer suspension. And so with that, you can't have the Cummins, and it is unfortunate, but it just is what it is. So we've addressed that. Let's get to my 5 things I hate about this truck. All right, guys, number 1 thing I hate about this truck, and it goes along well with the Cummins option, is the freaking gas mileage. This 6.4 is a pig on fuel. Let me show you what I'm running here. We've been running around the city quite a bit today, so it's quite disgusting amount of fuel. 20 liters per 100 kilometers today. I'll put the MPG down there. It's not great. My old Ram 1500 with the 5.7 in it was averaging like 12 to 13 liters per 100 kilometers. And I figured that this would be an extra like 25% fuel mileage just because the bigger displacement. Now, what I didn't take into account is that this thing weighs an extra 2,000 pounds, as well as this thing comes standard with 410 gears. All of that in combination with a bigger displacement Hemi adds up to a lot of fuel burn. So if you guys are looking at a Power Wagon, make sure you make a big budget for your fuel because it costs quite a bit, especially up here in Canada with the fuel prices being pretty much astronomical. The second thing I hate is the electronic 4-wheel drive switch. Until 2019, the 4-wheel drive was always a stick on the floor with these Power Wagons because when you're off-road, the last thing you want is your electric 4-wheel drive switch to fail. And so that's why they put it on the floor. It's the most reliable and it'll always work. But as you guys can see, we have our 4-wheel drive all up in here instead of being on the floor where it should be. The third thing I hate about this Hemi, the side steps. Now, this may seem a little bit weird because it is such a tall truck. You may think a short guy like me would enjoy side steps. And I don't actually hate the side steps, but I just don't like the way they look. It is what it is. Let me show you a clip when I took them off as to why I freaking hate them. In case you guys couldn't see with the GoPro, zoom in here with my nice camera. That's what I mean. So right there, that's just metal on metal, and that will rust. I guarantee it. These hold the screws in that hold this whole unit together, and these were rubbing right into the paint. Let me show you. So this is where that was mounted up to. Now, if you guys can see right there, that is literally rubbed through. That's right to bare metal. This truck is 2 weeks old. That would have rusted in a freaking year. No problem. This whole thing would have been bubbling. That is why I don't like having those side steps. So there you go. I don't know why Ram installed their steps like that. That is just bound to rust, especially the bottom of the rocker, which loves to rot out to begin with. So that just seems a little bit crazy. Did not like that, so I ripped those off and they are not going back on. The fourth thing I hate about this Power Wagon is the payload. The payload on this truck is 1,530 pounds, which is pretty small for a 2500. However, like I mentioned earlier, it has all to do with the suspension And without having such a soft suspension, this truck just wouldn't be as good off-road. So it's kind of like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You know, the truck is what it is, and that's what makes it so good off-road. But I would love to have some more payload, because technically it is a 2500. Now, interestingly enough, they say the towing is a maximum of 10,500 pounds, but a tradesman with the 6.4 Hemi with the same transmission is around 15,000 pounds. So if this thing had 15,000 pounds behind it, when you went to accelerate off the line, all that torque and twisting force on that soft suspension would probably not be the best thing. That's my guess as to why the towing is not what a tradesman with the 6.4 with the same transmission and same gearing is. Now, the fifth thing I hate about this truck is a big one. It hasn't happened to my truck yet, but with the Hemi, I'm sure you guys have heard about this, the dreaded Hemi Tick. And from what I've read, the 6.4 is no different than the 5.7 in terms of having a possible lifter failure, which would eat your cam. Very expensive repair, to about $5,000. And it is unfortunately a common issue with these Hemi engines. Now, I will make a whole video diving deep into the Hemi Tick on these 6.4s, but it is indeed a problem on these 6.4s. And unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a conclusive reason as to why these lifters are failing. The best thing I can say to you from what I've read about the 5.7 is that make sure you use the right weight of oil, and make sure you're changing your oil regularly. I know with my Ram 1500, if I followed the truck's quote-unquote oil life, I would be changing my oil anywhere from like 14 to 16,000 kilometers every oil change. Now, if I was running conventional oil with a cheap oil filter, like, good luck, you know what I mean? And so make sure you change your oil much earlier than that. I wouldn't trust the truck's oil life system. So that is the fifth thing I hate about these power wagons, is the possibility of developing the Hemi Tick with your 6.4 Hemi, because if you do, it really sucks. All right, guys, those are the 5 things I hate about this truck. I really had to pick and choose because, like I said in the beginning of the video, I actually really like this truck. It's awesome, but I figured I would share some things I dislike after owning it for a month. And I feel like that number will not grow. I think this truck is going to be awesome. However, if you like the video, don't forget to leave that thumbs up. And if you like cool stuff like this, don't forget to subscribe. We've got quite a bit planned with this power wagon, and love to have you guys on board. Anyways, enough of me. We'll see you in the next freaking video, guys.